Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Covered in Love, the story of two stars that never fall. There is love that is announced with balloons and flowers. There is also love that is written in the sky with drones and cameras. But this one love, Taehyung and Jungkook's love, never makes a sound. It chooses to hide between seconds, infiltrate between breaths, and dance in shadows that are never revealed. Not because they are shy, but because true love does not need a stage. It only needs the courage to stay even though it is not visible. Jungkook and Taehyung are not a fictional couple in a Korean romantic drama. They are real. But their story is almost too beautiful to believe. Like two constellations in the sky that seem far apart, but gravitate towards each other in silence. Jungkook, the man who is known to be cold to everyone, suddenly warms up when he mentions Taehyung's name. He, who rarely answers the phone even for his own groupmates, suddenly becomes someone who calls late at night just to say, "You are amazing." As if the world only needs one person to make it talk, Taehyung. Then came the night, a Bruno Mars concert in Seoul with Jungkook on the other side of the world. But as if the universe couldn't bear to separate them, they both wore the same clothes. The world called it a coincidence. But for two souls who had been connected even before the first camera was turned on, nothing was a coincidence. Only heart signals that continued to sync, transcending time zones and logic. Behind the scenes, the world was watching. Wooshik only followed two accounts, Taehyung and Jungkook. Peak Boy, who should have been a regular DJ, was a living witness at Jungkook's solo album celebration. Even Taehyung's childhood friend shared Jungkook's work, as if to say, "I know and I support." They walked in silence, but their footprints were like ink on snow. In every photo shoot, Jungkook didn't demand a position. He just waited, so he could stand on the side he guarded, Taehyung's side. And when the group went on vacation, people thought he was alone because he was tired. But no. He just missed the one person who wasn't there. Jungkook's smile only returned when Taehyung appeared. Like the dawn that restores color to the night sky. No words needed. Just one look is enough to tell the whole poem. When Taehyung hesitates to jump from a height, Jungkook doesn't push. He approaches, silently climbing on the other side. A sign, "I will never be far from you." And when Taehyung finally jumps, it's not just courage that he shows, but the belief that there is someone who will welcome him, no matter what happens. Jungkook dyes his hair half cherry, half blonde, the color Taehyung once wore. Then he says, "Love is half and half." From there, the term was born, Taekook Cherry. A color of love that can only be understood by two souls who know each other without even having to touch. They don't explain anything. Because love is not a seminar. It is a silence that forms the deepest meaning. When the cameras turn off and the fans go home, Jungkook is still standing there, accompanying Taehyung until the last second. No scenario. No fan service. Just love, naked and sincere. The world can assume. The media can speculate. But they still walk side by side, undisturbed by the spotlight. Because in a world that thirsts for recognition, they only need each other's presence. Their love doesn't need a microphone. It whispers between breaths. It echoes in the silence. And when someone asks, "Are you?" they just smile. Because the answer isn't in words, but in the way they look at each other, as if the world is never big enough to contain their love. In between times, they never get lost. If their love were a song, then its melody could only be heard by two hearts that have long been in tune. In a world that is busy measuring love through hugs in front of the camera, Taehyung and Jungkook hide their love in the embrace of their eyes, silent but full. When Taehyung laughs, Jungkook doesn't laugh because the joke is funny. He laughs because Taehyung is laughing. That's the difference. Love that doesn't celebrate events, but celebrates existence. Look at the way they protect each other in the middle of a crowd. Jungkook, with a reflex that is never fake, always places himself between Taehyung and the crowd. Covering, guarding, not because it's his job, but because it's his instinct. And Taehyung, with gentle body language, always makes sure that Jungkook never feels alone, even in the middle of a sea of cheers. There are small moments that never make the headlines, but for the two of them, that's the center of their universe. Like when Taehyung looks at Jungkook, who is talking to someone else. That gaze is not jealous, not possessive, but full of attention. Like someone watching the sunrise, amazed, proud, and secretly warmed by it. And in every busy world, tour schedules, rehearsals, filming, breakups, there is a space they always leave just for each other. Video calls between unreasonable hours. Text messages that appear like an oasis in the desert of busyness. They don't need to schedule time, because their time always has a gap for the people who matter most. When the world wants to box love into labels and confessions, Taehyung chooses freedom. They are not a couple in the classic definition, but they are not just friends either. They are one thing that can only be defined by two words: we. And even though distance and time try to separate them, they are never truly apart. Because their hearts do not run on a regular timeline. They beat in a dimension that cannot be measured by a calendar or a clock, but with longing and a presence that complement each other. When Jungkook sings "Hate You" with teary eyes, some people see it as an expression of art. But those who are sensitive know, there is a wound that can only be healed by one name. And when Taehyung sings a love song with a voice that softens in certain verses, sometimes it is not necessary to mention who he is thinking about. Because his gaze always returns to one direction, to where Jungkook is. Their love is a poem that has never been written down. But it lives on, whispered between the pages of time, carved in between activities, and stored carefully in a space that cannot be touched by anyone, except the two of them. When time moves away, but hearts remain united. The day came. The day awaited with trembling hearts and eyes that were reluctant to blink. The day when Jungkook and Taehyung had to put down the microphone and the spotlight, not to stop, but to temporarily disappear from a world that always wanted to know too much. Military service. Two words that sounded like a duty, but for Taehyung it was a silent test, a test of how love survives when it cannot be seen, touched, or spoken. They did not cry in public. They did not upload a farewell letter with a tearful emoticon. But for those who paid attention, the sign of separation was felt in every detail. Jungkook's smile that was a little longer when looking at Taehyung. A short hug that was tighter than usual. And the way Taehyung nodded slightly after looking at Jungkook, as if to say, "I will wait for you patiently as usual." Before parting, they sang a song together. Not many people know, but the song was not just a song. The lyrics included silent messages that could only be read with the heart. "I'll be okay as long as you're okay too." An unspoken promise, but it resonated deeper than anything. And when they finally parted ways, the world felt a little quieter. Jungkook no longer appeared on nightly live shows with his tired yet warm hoarse voice. Taehyung was no longer seen sneaking silent glances at someone behind the camera. But behind the scenes, their love did not die. It persisted like a small fire in a quiet cave, unseen but still burning. Taehyung began posting simple things. A song, a black and white photo, a short poem. All of it seemed random to the world. But to someone who knew him in secret, it was like puzzle pieces being sent slowly, as if he was saying, "I'm here, I'm waiting." Meanwhile, Jungkook once said, "I want to be someone Taehyung can be proud of." And when he performed solo on the big stage, when his name echoed across the world, all of those successes felt like indirect messages. "Look at me. I'm still ours even though the world is calling my name." They are two stars that may not look close together in the night sky. But if you draw an imaginary line, you will see they are always connected. And when they return, meet again looking at each other, perhaps without a word, the world will know. True love is not measured by how often you are together, but by how strong you remain whole, even when apart. Because Taehyung is not an ordinary story. They are the harmony of two souls that never lose their tune, even when played in different spaces and times.
Today's gonna be a good day. Wake up. Today's gonna be a good day.